Welcome, everybody, to the Behind the Frenzy podcast, week 6, as we are steadily getting into the season here. Past midway, flying by.
Two-thirds of the way through the regular season.
Yes, I am Dean Holzwarth. I am here along with Jack Doles, sports director, and Andy McDonald.
Sir.
Guys, welcome. Let's talk about week 5 first. I guess another upset 2 weeks in a row now. One of the biggest upsets. Rockford
You
falls to Jenison.
You can't not call it an upset even if it is 2 weeks in a row just because they hadn't lost a regular season game in 5 years. So, pretty big deal.
Yeah, and Jenison scores late in the game trailed most of the game, and then they marched downfield late in the fourth quarter and scored to beat Rockford. They got to figure something out at Rockford right now. Still have more opportunities because the OK Red's loaded, but right now Hudsonville in great shape in that conference.
They are, and Jenison's a team that they were leading Granville going into the fourth quarter the week before, so I think they maybe gained some confidence from that, and then scored, like Jack said, with 17 seconds left in the game. Go for the 2-point and get it.
Well, everybody's going to be talking about it now. I mean, you get that kind of win, people will notice you, that's for sure.
And they spoiled Rockford's homecoming as well.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure made that even sweeter for Jenison and some of the others in the OK Red.
Yes. So with that loss, Hudsonville now on top of the OK Red guys. They beat East Kentwood 35-6. Obviously, no letdown from the big win against Rockford the week before.
Yeah, convincing. And they, one of our plays of the week candidates this week is a scoop and score off a block punt. So Hudsonville doing it offensively, defensively, special teams. They look like they've got something special brewing right now. They've got a lot of really good wins this season, and certainly in control right now.
Yeah, they're at top of the red, followed by Caledonia, East Kentwood, and Granville, one game back.
And East Kentwood's one of those teams we've talked about for a while now that, was trying to prove themselves to be one of the better teams in the red. Obviously, another tough loss for them. I'm sure they'll look to rebound from it, but either way, I'm sure they wanted to get that win, so it seems to be a pretty tough, they've had a couple tough losses now, but I'm sure they'll move on from it.
Yep. Let's turn to the OK Green. Mona Shores takes a firm grasp on the OK Green conference lead with a big win against Muskegon.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Muskegon dropping to 1-3. I mean, what are your guys' opinions on that? I guess now that because it seemed like
tough schedule.
Yeah.
Surprised, yes.
I mean, when they were 0-2, we kind of thought, okay, well, they did this last year, so it could be kind of a similar story. But now they're 1-3, so I think it's new territory for them.
They're 1-3, but the schedule eases up considerably for them. So, Muskegon this weekend they've got Union. That's a win. Next weekend, Reese Puffer. Reese Puffer looks a little down this year. Looks like they've lost some of that momentum. And then the week after that, the 18th, Byron Center. That's going to be huge because, I mean, they don't currently have an opponent for the 25th. You're not going to get into the playoffs with
crazy.
3 wins. So they need to win out and hopefully find somebody to play. But their streak of playoffs could definitely be in jeopardy here, and that would be a shocker because this is a really talented team.
Absolutely. And, I mean, you get Mona Shores now is on a little bit of a streak themselves. They're beating Byron Center, too, so they're definitely moving themselves on the up right now.
Yeah, Jonathan Pittman's really playing well for that team, and their defense is coming up with some timely stops and key moments for them.
Yeah, Forest Hills Northern this week, and then they play Grand Rapids Union, and then Reese Puffer, and then that last week they played Toledo Catholic Central. So it's crazy the schedule they've had because those first 3 weeks on the road, and that's one of those things that could make you better. The team's got all that time together in these bus rides, and then they win all these games. So this is a team that looks like they've got something special building at Mona Shores this year.
That's another game on the road for them at Toledo Catholic Central?
I don't know that.
Okay, I was going to say that because their first 3 games were away, too.
They were.
Like in places far away. That's pretty crazy.
Find that out for you.
Wow.
We definitely have had some parity so far in the first 5 weeks. Would you guys agree? I feel like there are teams, I mean, we're going to look at the OK Gold here in a minute, probably one of the most competitive conferences that we have right now. But we're looking at some of these teams and some, you're looking at upsets every week.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think a lot of parity in high school football this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, not just the same dominant forces. I mean, like we were just talking about Muskegon being 1-3, I think is one of the crazy stories of any of them, schedule aside. But, yeah, and then Rockford losing a couple games. that's, I mean, just unheard of the last few seasons. So definitely, I think it makes it more fun for everybody else when more teams are winning and you have more names to talk about.
Well, the OK Gold, competitively, top to bottom, probably the best around this year.
Yes.
At least in West Michigan. We're 3 weeks into the conference season there, right?
Yep.
And I still feel like anybody can win that. Unity is in first place.
Yep.
But you have Zeeland West, South Christian, and Forest Hill Central, who had that huge win over South Christian this last week.
Yep.
So those, South Christian, Forest Hill Central, we came into this year going, they've got some players, but what do they have back from teams that played at Ford Field? Both were decimated by graduation, but both have shown really good signs. I was at that Forest Hill Central South Christian game last week, and just blown away defensively how well they played against South Christian. It's the first time I've seen Carson Viss really contained. He couldn't get away. He wasn't able to make a lot of these plays. He did suffer a little leg injury that slowed him down a little bit.
Okay.
But he just was unable to connect defensively with the deep ball or offensively, because Forest Hill Central really played that well. Their D-backs were fantastic in this game. Had one or two picks.
Yeah, I think they picked him
opportunities
off
for
3 times.
more. So yeah, they played really well, and I think as the offense gets up to speed, and we saw them really throw the deep ball well. Nick Williams had a couple of great passes to Cargill, and so we're seeing teams make strides, and we're seeing teams that are just really good. And then look at what Unity Christian did to Zeeland West. I mean,
Yep.
they held them to 8 points.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not many teams have done that.
Yeah.
So, Zeeland, that might have been the knock against Unity, is teams have scored a lot off of them. But, it's when you get 2 teams that can run that wing T and know these coaches that know each other's schemes as well as those 2 do, I don't know how much you can take out of it, but you do have to take out of it that Unity Christian's very good.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to Forest Hill Central, I mean, just to win that game after taking a loss to Unity Christian,
Yes.
that's impressive to come back and play that well against, one of the best teams in the area. So
Yeah, definitely a good bounce back win for Forest Hill Central. And then, Uni Christian, Jack, 8 points, great defensive effort, and Craig Tibby talked to us last week about how it's going to take a monstrous effort to beat Zeeland West.
no doubt.
They obviously did that.
They did the job.
You,
that's
you
for
look
sure.
ahead there, and in 2 weeks they've got South Christian, and then Zeeland East, and then they play Pontiac Notre Dame, the last game of the year, and we saw what that team did to Catholic Central a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
So they've still got some really big games on their schedule, and that'll be for them a great tune-up for the playoffs. But Unity is very interesting. This is a program took a step back last year, but they look like they are rolling right now in a very difficult conference.
Yep, playing very well. Well, let's look ahead to our spotlight game, guys. We have 3 this week. The first one, Holland Christian at Catholic Central. And I think we talk about Holland Christian, and they may be the biggest surprise. We talked about Northview a little bit too, but
Yeah.
I think Holland Christian right now is the biggest surprise after beating East Grand Rapids last week.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about East Grand Rapids is trying to get themselves back to being the program they were before. To get the 21-20 win is a big deal. And being undefeated, I mean, I don't think anybody saw them being undefeated at this point in the season right
their
now.
schedule hasn't been the toughest. But that East Grand Rapids win was the one that opened your eyes. They beat Allendale. Comstock Park is winless. Holland is, nice revitalization. They've won 2 games. Ottawa Hills is really down again. But now that win against East, it's like, hey, wait a minute. So they're a player in this conference. This week we find out.
Yeah, bigger test for sure. I mean, Catholic Central's bounced back nice after that loss to Notre Dame. They've outscored their opponent 76-6 the last 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
I remember we kind of talked about, do we think that Catholic, what happened? They got shut out. That's crazy. Todd Colster always gets those guys going in the right direction. So
The game I'm really looking forward to is in a couple of weeks when Catholic Central and Northview play.
oh yeah,
Yes.
This
for sure.
Northview team, I mean, they've scored 233 points in 5 games.
So did we see last week? They put up 72 points against Thornapple Kellogg.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh, their offense is that good. I mean, the few plays I've gotten to see from them, they've looked unbelievable. So it hasn't taken them long to score at all. They do it quick and efficiently.
And as
So,
we talked about last week, they have just a bunch of athletes,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
A lot of
Absolutely.
speed.
Yeah.
Saw them against East Grand Rapids. And again, it was like in that second half, the athletes really kind of took over. They made a couple of mistakes in the first half, but came back in that second half and won that ball game. So yeah, that's just Northview and Catholic Central, and now we'll find out if Holland Christian's part of that as well. If Holland Christian can pull off this win, I think everybody's going to go, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt about
I
that.
don't think anyone expected Holland Christian. You look at, they had 4 wins last year, haven't had a winning season since 2018, and didn't win a game in 2020 in the
Yeah.
short and the COVID year. So I don't think anyone saw this coming.
And
out of
everybody
Holland
knows who Catholic Central is. Like they're going to be fired up for this game. It's not going to take a lot to get them motivated to go out there and give it their best effort. So I expect it to be a good one. That's for sure.
Yeah, another kind of litmus test for Holland Christian to see how good they actually really are.
The biggest one they'll have until they
Yeah.
play Northview.
Yeah. And OK Black is obviously right now tied, 3 teams tied atop with Catholic Central, Northview, and Holland Christian.
Yep.
So,
Sure.
OK, let's turn to Edwardsburg at Paw Paw.
Edwardsburg's another one of those teams that every year you just pencil in as somebody that's going to make the playoffs. They've had incredible success. They've gone deep. Another program that runs the wing tee incredibly well, and they're just hard to play against. Paw Paw is a program that's been building. They've got one of the Ellen True's top recruits in the area, and this will be a fun game. There's a reason we made this one of our spotlight games. There's a 3-way tie for first right now in the Wolverine Conference with Edwardsburg, Paw Paw, and Niles. We've seen that this Niles team is really good. So there's 2 big games you have to win in that conference if you want to win it. And they're coming up now for Paw Paw.
Yeah, the Eddies last year, kind of a down year in for that program, 5-5.
Yeah.
Paw Paw beat them a couple times. You don't see that much. I think the last time the Eddies lost 2 or more games in a season was, more than 2 games in a season was 2012.
For sure. I mean, they're always a team we find ourselves kind of being around in the playoffs. They're always around and making a run, so it doesn't surprise me at all.
Paw Paw played 11 games last year. So that means you're making a little run in the playoffs. They
Yep.
went 9-2, and now they jump out to the 4-0 start.
And the big start for Paw Paw, Darren Stray,
Yeah.
off our tackle, senior tackle, committed to Kentucky, had 9 offers from Big Ten teams.
Wow.
Tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
There's plenty of MAC teams after him, and but when you've got 9 Big Ten offers,
You're
got
pretty
something.
Yeah, no doubt.
You're pretty good. And he's kind of talked about Paw Paw. We looked earlier, outscoring opponents 241 to 42.
That's
Yeah.
impressive. I mean, anytime you can put up that many points this early in the season, that amount of games. Obviously, everything's clicking right now. And I think that's going to be big against a program like Edwardsburg that's proven that they're a tough team to beat. It'll be interesting to see if their offense can keep up and score against them.
Yeah, Paw Paw beat them twice last year, so I
Right.
think Eddies have a little motivation.
Absolutely.
So you're beating a team twice. It means you understand the scheme, especially when it's Edwardsburg, and they shut them out the first time and beat them 16-7 in the playoffs. So, Edwardsburg's obviously gotten better from last year. Their only loss this year came at the hands of St. Joe's, who's 5-0 this year, and that's a bigger school. So, it'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. Our final spotlight game will be Forsyth Central at Zeeland West. We've kind of touched on both teams a little bit, but Forsyth Central will be another good test for them.
Yeah, and
I
can
guess-
they handle John Shillito's wing tee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, again, this tests the different. You're going to face a lot of different offenses when you get to the playoffs, and so this is the kind of test you need to pass. Their offense certainly handled the passing game with South Christian last week. Now they've got to get ready for a completely different scheme here, but the way their offense was starting to move the ball. They were a little slow out of the gates. They've had a couple of games where the offense wasn't prolific like it was last year. But we've seen them improve. And that's, as a coaching staff, especially a new coaching staff, that's what you want to see. You want to see your team improve from week to week, and they certainly seem to have.
And Zeeland West will have no shortage of motivation after taking a loss last week as well. So I think it makes for a great game. 2 teams that really want to get a win over each other that are kind of chase and unity there.
Yeah,
So,
and you have to win this game to stay in the
Right.
race.
Right.
Exactly.
That's why
Yeah, you can't afford a second loss.
we chose this game because it is of vital importance for both these teams to win here.
Right.
Because you lose that you pick up that second loss, and you're not going to be in this hunt at the end of the season. You're still in the hunt for a playoff, but you won't be in the hunt for that conference title.
Jack, did you expect Forest Central to kind of, I think, they won a state championship but lost the last senior talent. Did you see them as a team that was going to be able to compete again this year at a high level?
Not at the level they are now. I was really pleasantly surprised by what I saw last week in person.
Mm-hmm.
Watching them out there, because they looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, defensively, they moved the ball. They really shut down Viss. And again, Viss really struggled to find space, and he really struggled trying to complete a deep ball because those D-backs were just all over the receivers. So, yeah, it showed me something.
I mean, it's one of the most surprising, victories I've heard just because of how well Carson Viss has been playing against everybody else. Like, he's just been carrying that team to win after win after win. I'm not sure, I wasn't there in person, but I don't know what their defense did to slow them down, personally, but I mean, it's a pretty darn good job, that's for sure, because whether he was, a little banged up or not, seems like he's pretty tough to stop, even at 75% or 60% or whatever.
Yeah, he's so creative.
Yeah.
When he's got a little bit of space to operate, when he wants to run, he's one of the best athletes on the field.
Absolutely.
Carson Viss is a guy that at the end of the year, he'll be in the conversation for both Mr. Football and Mr. Basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He's that kind of an athlete.
Oh, sure.
And when you watch him back there, I was standing next to Dino Paganelli, and he was like, wow, he really throws a good ball. It's a little different release,
Mm-hmm.
but it comes out of that hand really. It's a good-looking pass when it comes out. The release is down here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if he's going to play basketball at Western Michigan,
Yeah.
if he was going to play quarterback, and I would imagine there might be a couple of college coaches going, he'd have to bring that
Figure
ball
that
up
out.
here a little bit. But whatever he's doing works.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've really seen him hampered or slowed down.
Yep. Well, 4 more weeks left in the regular season.
It's going by like nothing. Really is.
Yep. I think it's going to be a fun next 4 weeks.
It will. And I think if you're looking like who are some teams we think we'll be covering at Ford Field, we'll see if Hudsonville can keep this run going.
Mm-hmm.
Mona Shores, absolutely. Unity Christian,
Yep.
we'll see. And these next couple of weeks will be huge. I just don't know how much depth
Right.
they've got, but they certainly have shown they know how to win. And now we're seeing them play a little more defense that we've seen in past years.
Yep.
So, and obviously he's got some athletes. Craig Tibby can coach. And, I just don't know if Catholic Central's got it right now.
Mhm.
We'll see how they build.
Yep.
They started the season with a freshman quarterback. That's always difficult. So I think we're going to still have plenty of teams to follow.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun to see how it all shakes out.
It will. Well, thanks for joining us. For week 6, we will have over 20 games,
Looks like 20 to 21 at this
20 to
point.
21 games for the Frenzy. So we'll talk to you next week. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.